Hey guys, Joe from American Trucks, and today we're going to be taking a closer look at the pocket fender flares fitting all 18 and newer F-150s, excluding the Raptor models. Now, these are going to be the perfect option for any F-150 owner out there that's looking to add some aggressive styling and tire coverage with a cost-effective and easy-to-install set of fender flares. These are made out of a tri-blend ABS plastic, and they're definitely going to be able to stand up to an impact. They won't shatter if they do take something flung up by the tires. They're definitely going to be able to take that abuse. They're finished in a UV-resistant flat black, which on our 18 F-150 here looks great. It really matches the blackout look that we were going for with this truck. But if that's not your thing, these are 100% paintable. You can paint them to match the color of your truck. All in all, these are going to give you about 2 inches out from the side of the truck and about 6¼ inches up. And a lot of the times when you want to run larger tires, most states require you cover them up somehow to pass inspection. You can't have tires that poke beyond the body lines of the truck. So these are going to be a great option to keep your truck road legal if you plan on running wider tires. Now, another thing I was pleasantly surprised of in the design is they don't interfere with our factory side steps. Sometimes a side step can go a little bit forward beyond the door line, and that might interfere with these, but at least with the factory side steps we have on our 18 F-150, there was plenty of clearance there. Obviously, that will be a case-by-case basis depending on what set of side steps you plan on using. Now, another thing I did want to touch on here, that these will interfere with lane keep assist, so if your truck has that option, take a closer look and be sure these are what you want before you go ahead and pull the trigger on the purchase. Pricing here is going to come in right around that $300 mark, and that's the price for all 4 corners. I think they really bring out that awesome blackout, aggressive off-roader look on our lead foot gray 18 F-150 here, and that is money well spent in just the looks department. If you're putting these on to cover up your larger tires, to meet inspection, all the better. And even these are gonna help you protect your truck. So at the $300 price point, this is a great product. Fit and finish is bar none. Quality of materials also bar none. I can't stress this enough. These are a great set of fender flares. Install for these, extremely easy. We're looking at a 1 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty here. Should take you no longer than an hour to get all 4 corners sorted. And there's no drilling, like I said earlier, no modification required to get these installed on your truck. So without any further ado, let me show you what tools you'll need and how it's done. Tools required for this install are going to be an impact or ratchet, 5.5, 7, and 10 millimeter sockets, a T40 Torx bit. I have mine on the socket just to speed things up a little bit. And lastly, a pair of scissors. So the first thing we're gonna do for our install here is a little bit of prep on our front fender flare. Now, what we're going to do is grab these T40 bolt heads, and we're just gonna drop them in all the way along the length. And again, you don't have to drill into your F-150 to get these mounted up, and these guys are just there to give it the look. So we're gonna get these started finger tight, and then we're gonna come back with the T40 Torx bit and a 10 millimeter socket and tighten them all down. So now I'm just gonna put a rag down here and flip this guy over, and we can tighten all those down. So the next step in the prep for our fender flare here is going to be this little rubber seal. Now this is just to protect the paint of your truck from this plastic edge right here. This has some double-sided 3M tape in it. So what we're going to be doing is taking the included alcohol wipe, just wiping down that edge, and then running that seal all the way along that leading edge right there that's going to touch the paint on our truck. So now we can just take that weather strip, and I'm just gonna peel back the adhesive protector here. And I'm gonna keep pulling that back as we go, and I'm just going to apply this to this edge. So now that we have that whole outer edge wrapped, we're just gonna grab the scissors and trim that to size. You'll have enough in that roll for all 4 fender flares. And now I'm just gonna go around that whole edge and make sure that is pressed in place. And then we're gonna do the same thing for the other 3 fender flares as well. So I just got all those bolts into our rear fender flare. Now I'm just gonna flip it over and tighten all of them down. Again, T40 Torx and 10mm socket. So now I'm just gonna take that alcohol wipe, clean the edge off, and then start applying our paint protective strip. Now the best technique I've found is to sort of roll this down onto that edge and then get the adhesive seated. This is definitely the most tedious part of the install, but the better you can make this look, I think it'll pay dividends in the end with just how clean this will sit to the body of the F-150. So now we can bring our fender flares over to the truck, and we're gonna start by removing some hardware here. Now, we're gonna start with the 2 7mm bolts right up front here, and there's also a 5.5mm right here. We're gonna remove those 3 and then get our fender flare mounted up to the truck, and then we're going to handle the bolts up here. You're gonna see why I do it that way in just a second. A little bit tough to get this one with the impact, so I'm just going to use the 1/4" ratchet. So now we can put our flare up, and we're going to secure it in the front with those 2 7s and in the rear with this 5.5 that we just removed. So now we're gonna move on to the other 2 positions, and this is why I do it this way, because it holds the fender flare still and allows us to get this little bracket underneath there. Basically, all that's going to happen is that little tab is going to go in that hole and sit underneath that bolt right there. And this is another 5.5mm, so really little. We're gonna remove that, get our bracket in place, and tighten it back down. And there's one more of those, and then our front flares will be mounted. So now we're gonna move on to the rear. And the most obvious problem here is there's no bolts, no hardware here to bolt on a fender flare. But basically what we're going to do is just hold these up and use these little barb clips that come in the kit. We're gonna clip it onto this lip right here. Now there's two sides to this little clip. You got this barb side right here, and the other side is going to be flat. You want to make sure that the barb side of the clip meets up with the holes that are in the fender flare. And we're just going to go around and do that for all 6 positions. Yeah, if there was any doubt about how hard these things grip, I know I was doubtful, but there's a lot of tension in there. This fender flare is not going anywhere. However, if you do change your mind, I'm sure it wouldn't be too hard to drill through those holes and just secure this with nuts and bolts. Now that is going to be it for this side. The install is going to be the same exact thing on the other side. But that's going to do it for my review and install of the pocket fender flares fitting all 18 and newer F150s, excluding the Raptor models. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe for more videos like this, and keep it right here at American Trucks for all things F150.